Hey guys, it is Grady Trimble here at the US Capitol, and I am covering an interesting story for anyone who uses TikTok in particular and social media in general today. And that is the deal that the Trump administration helped broker to save TikTok from being banned in the United States. So you remember, it was during the Biden administration. President Biden signed into law a law that Congress passed that forced TikTok to either divest its U.S. operations, sell its U.S. operations, or face a ban in the United States. That's because of national security concerns about user data, and concerns that the Chinese Communist Party could influence content on TikTok because, of course, the parent company of TikTok is based in China. It's called ByteDance, and they have TikTok and a whole host of apps that are available in the United States. This is an issue that's been ongoing for years now. It actually started back in President Trump's first term when he raised national security concerns about TikTok because of that Chinese parent company that owns it. Then it became a bipartisan issue during the Biden administration. Congress passed that divestiture ban law and President Biden signed it. But then that was toward the end of Biden's term, so then it was up to the next administration, the current Trump administration, to sort of lead the way to a deal. And it was finally announced last week that both the United States and China have agreed on this deal to keep TikTok operating in the United States. So let me walk you through this deal, and then I'll tell you why it's a little bit controversial, or at least some lawmakers are taking a wait-and-see posture to learn more details about the agreement, this deal to keep TikTok up and running in the United States. And while I talk, I'm also going to be monitoring some of your comments here on my phone. If you have any questions about the deal that I know the answer to, I'll try to answer them. Or if you have any comments about this deal, I'll read those as well. So let me walk you through the deal first and foremost. The companies that are involved in the deal are Oracle, that's a U.S. company. It's going to have 15% of the U.S. operation of TikTok, and its job will be to help secure U.S. user data and the app's algorithm. Remember, the algorithm is a key part of this because TikTok's algorithm, compared to other social media outlets, is supposed to be superior in serving up content that users want to see. It's very specific, sometimes it's niche content, but it's something that makes TikTok a more desirable platform to its users. So it'll be up to Oracle to be involved in securing and monitoring that algorithm. And then, so they'll get a 15% stake. Same with the private equity firm Silver Lake and the UAE state-owned investment firm MGX. So that's 15% each. And then there are some other smaller stakes for other companies. But what's critical here and why this deal is controversial is because ByteDance will get a 19.9% or almost 20% stake in TikTok's US operations. Remember, the whole idea with this deal was to make sure that user data is protected and that users in general are protected from the influence of the Chinese Communist Party. So there are some lawmakers here on Capitol Hill who are saying, hey, wait a minute, why is ByteDance, the China-based parent company of TikTok, involved in this deal when the law that we passed required TikTok to divest, to sell its US operations? But the people who support this deal are saying that the structure is such that the US user data will be siloed from the Chinese Communist Party. It will be secure, so the Chinese Communist Party won't have access to it. And the deal is also structured so that the algorithm will be retrained on US user data, and the algorithm will be licensed to this US entity that has been formed as part of this deal. That being said, like I mentioned, there are lawmakers, both Republican and Democrat, who have concerns about the structure of this deal. In fact, John Molinar is a Republican congressman who heads up the House Select Committee on China. This is a House committee that was formed to prevent the influence of the Chinese Communist Party in the United States. And he put out a statement with several questions that he says are going to be important to answer as part of Congress giving the go-ahead to this deal as part of Congress's oversight of the agreement. And here are the two questions that he posed. Does this deal ensure China does not have influence over the algorithm? And can the parties involved assure Americans their data is secure? Those are two main questions that some members of Congress don't have the answers to right now and want the answers to before they say, you know what, this deal has our green light. And then there are some other lawmakers who are a little more forceful in their refusal to support this deal. One of them is a Democratic Senator, Ed Markey, and this was his statement as soon as this deal was announced by the Trump administration. He said, despite my repeated requests for information, the White House has provided virtually no details about this agreement, including whether TikTok's algorithm is truly free of Chinese influence. So that's a little bit more of a forceful refusal to support this deal than some Republican lawmakers. But even Republican lawmakers have questions about the structure of this deal, whether U.S. user data is going to be protected from CCP, Chinese Communist Party influence, and whether the algorithm will serve up content that the CCP wants American users to see in order to influence their perspectives, their viewpoints, and that's been a concern with TikTok all along. Something else that's interesting to note is that since this deal was reached, there's a firm that has come out with data about how people are responding to the deal in terms of users of the app, and it says that that TikTok's app uninstalls, meaning people have deleted TikTok from their phone at an increased rate, 150% compared to before this deal was struck to now. So apparently some users are saying that their viewpoints are being censored on TikTok now that this deal has been struck, that they don't feel like they're able to speak as freely about their perspectives as they were before this deal came to fruition. I'm going to look through some of your comments and see what a lot of you guys are thinking about this particular deal. Diana and Yvonne, both of you say this is good news. Very good. So far what I'm seeing in summary in the Facebook comments are a lot of people who support this deal. They obviously there's been concern about TikTok for a long time now, particularly because it is used by 200 million Americans. Its reach is staggering, and so many people get their news from TikTok, get information about what's happening in the world around them on TikTok. And lawmakers were concerned that the Chinese Communist Party was pushing out content to try to, slowly influence people toward a certain perspective or a certain viewpoint that would be sympathetic toward the CCP. Another concern is just user data. You think about how much information we store on our phones. The concern was that by downloading the app, you'd be giving the CCP access to all sorts of other content on your phone outside of the TikTok app, whether it be your location, your contacts, the places that you visit frequently, that they would have all of that information and be able to use it for nefarious purposes. There's been no evidence of that. TikTok has said they don't use any of that information for nefarious purposes, but that was the concern of lawmakers when they originally passed this divest or ban law. And even when President Trump first brought this up during his first term, and now there's a new deal. I recapped it in the beginning, but just to do that again, 15% stake for Oracle, which will be involved in securing user data and the app's algorithm, 15% to the private equity firm Silver Lake, and 15% to UAE state-owned investment firm MGX. The lawmakers that we've heard from so far haven't spoken out against that structure of the deal, but they have concerns specifically about the fact that ByteDance, the Chinese parent company of TikTok, will retain a 20% stake in TikTok's US operations. Some commenters have said you can't bring certain topics up on TikTok since this deal was struck. That's one of the concerns of censorship now that there's this US-based operation in charge of the app. So, you know, censorship is certainly a concern across social media platforms, and now TikTok is in the spotlight because of this deal. So we're going to keep following this. Remember that Congress passed this law, so it's not as simple as, okay, this new entity was formed to oversee the US operations of TikTok, and it's a done deal. Congress is going to have a role here overseeing this particular deal that was reached. And if lawmakers get information that they're concerned about, they're certainly going to raise those concerns, and they might even have some authority to block the deal from coming together, because if they say it doesn't comply with the law, then that could be an issue as far as this particular agreement goes. So we're going to keep following it, but for now, the lights are on at TikTok. You can scroll to your heart's content over there. Because of this deal, it is ostensibly compliant with the divestiture ban law that Congress passed, President Biden signed, and now the Trump administration has implemented in order to save the app and keep it running for the 200 million Americans who use it. We'll have reports on throughout the day on Fox Business and Fox News, so make sure you tune in. And I'll keep monitoring these contents in case you guys have any questions or comments that you want to throw in the comment section even after this video, the live video ends. Thank you very much, and we'll see you guys on TV.